Joining us now, Senate Leader, Virginia, hanging by a thread, has got a one-vote lead. That's all going to be sorted out in November. Tommy Norment, Senator, 3rd District Republican. Senator, good to have you with us, sir.
Good morning, John. It's a delight to be back with you on the day after Labor Day, sir. And I can say that all of our Republican candidates were out there working extraordinarily hard over Labor Day to make sure that the Republicans maintain a majority in the Senate of Virginia.
Okay, I want to get to some of these races and some of the hot ones and get your take on it, because right now you've got a 21-19 lead. You know, when I talk to your counterpart, the Godfather, Dick Saslow, he says, look, I got a simple mathematical equation. I've got to hold what I have, and I've got to pick up Watkins' seat. I do that, I'm in, and Tommy's back. I'm back telling him what to do. Let's go to District 29, the Charles Cogan seat there. You've got Charles Cogan. You've got a great candidate in Manassas Mayor Hal Parrish. This is a seat that, Tommy, the Democrats thought was in the bag, but Parrish, some are saying, actually has the lead there.
Well, that's a really interesting district. Chuck Colgan, of course, has represented it for many, many years, the longest-serving senator in the history of Virginia. And just as my dear friend Dick Saslow has a mathematical equation, I got a really simple mathematical equation. All the Senate Republicans have to do is hold what they got, and we're at 21. But in that race, Harold Parrish is a wonderful candidate. He has, of course, been the mayor of Manassas up there. His father served for many years in the House of Delegates. I like to say that Hal Parrish has the DNA of a true public servant. He has endeared himself to the citizens up there with the respectful manner that he has functioned in local government. Even though it is slightly a democratically leaning district, I do think that Hal Parrish is going to win that seat, and win that seat conventionally, in spite of what I expect will be a mass dumping of out-of-state money that Governor McCullom will put in that race. Money cannot overcome good quality and respected candidates.
You know, why don't we stay on that theme for a minute, Senator Norman, because that's, I think, the one thing I've heard across the state is that Republicans can expect to be outspent in almost every one of these competitive districts in the final month, 2-1, because of the enormous amount of money that Terry McAuliffe is going to be able to raise. How are you going to stave off that kind of an onslaught?
John, there's no way that we can hold back or stave off a dumping of all of this out-of-state money, whether it comes from Florida, California, or New York, or wherever Governor McAuliffe rubs elbows with people. That has not been our strategy from the beginning. We fully recognize we don't have the financial wherewithal to compete dollar for dollar with what Governor McAuliffe can bring in. What we did do is we recruited some exceptional candidates in Hal Parrish and Glenn Sturdivant and Nancy Dye and Richard Ottinger and Amanda Chase and Dr. Donovan. We concentrated months and months ago on recruiting top-notch, good, respected people to run as candidates, and we got them out. They're very early working. What we are going to have to do in order to offset the just barrage of out-of-state money of people who have really no interest in Virginia other than paying homage to the governor, we're just going to have to continue to get our candidates out there to do a lot of grassroots and one-on-one contact, and that's our recipe to success. And a moment ago you were talking about putting on big boy pants and diapers. I can tell you that come Wednesday, November the 4th, that my good friend Dick Saslow and his Senate Democrats are going to be changing their diapers in disappointment.
Senator Norman, history here might be on your side. As I look at some of these races, I really think you're in pretty good shape. I want to go to the Wagner race. Frank Wagner, District 7, Virginia Beach. A lot of money now being funneled into Gary McCullom. He's president of Cox, Virginia. Now, remember, it was Gary McCullom that was campaigning, running around the state with Governor Terry McAuliffe in 2013, advocating for Medicaid expansion, although he was not in politics or anything else. And I criticized that because I said a lot of his employees would have come under Medicaid expansion. So instead of Cox paying them, the taxpayers would. But I saw him at Bobby Scott's picnic today, and I asked McCullom for about the 6th time to come on my show. And he gave me the song and dance, but he didn't have time. And I said, look, why do you just blow me off? Why are you blowing me off? Why don't you just come on the show for 20 minutes and talk to the audience? And he said, no. I always get suspicious when candidates cannot come on the air and talk about their positions. What say you?
Well, first of all, it's absolutely shocking to me that Gary McCullom, who made his living as a communicator on cable TV, is uncomfortable and unwilling to defend his positions on a public forum. I mean, how can a guy who is in communications and mass communications be concerned about coming on a radio show? And what I think that does demonstrate is a underlying weakness in his entire campaign. Gary has attempted to strong-arm many significant donors in Hampton Roads. In fact, I've had multiple reports where people have declined to donate to him, and rather than being respectful and thanking him for their time, he admonishes them and tries to strong-arm them. And the reason I mention that is that's just the nature of his campaign. He has been a major disappointment to me. I have known him for a number of years. He was a major executive that, frankly, by running for public office, has put a significant cable TV company in an extraordinarily awkward position. But that's what he wanted to do, and he was not thinking about what was in the best interest of the company that he had worked for many years. I don't know what some of his positions are. He's thrown a couple of darts at Frank Wagner, and Frank has refuted and rebuffed those. Gary's made a couple of distortions on positions that Frank Wagner has had on issues. I see a sense of desperation already in that campaign. Frank Wagner is one of the brightest, most articulate and passionate members of the Senate of Virginia. He is the most exceptional pro-business senator that we have. It is my expectation when the Republicans maintain the majority in the Senate that Frank Wagner will end up chairing the Commerce and Labor Committee, where every significant piece of business legislation in Virginia passes through. And the reason he will be chairing that committee is because he gets it. I don't understand Gary's campaign other than he is relying upon Terry McAuliffe's money and connections to think that he can buy that campaign and buy that race against Frank with out-of-state money.
I agree with you. I find it to be very frustrating because I've asked him a number of times to come on the show. He would not. I reached out to the campaign and said I'd like to host a debate. They said, no, we already have debates. And then I checked, and they didn't have any. They have a couple of forums, and that's it. So, you ask somebody to come on the radio, they say no. Then you ask them for a debate, they say no. I could call Wagner now, and he'd come on in 5 minutes. So, I think I have a reputation as being pretty fair and equitable. So it just makes me wonder. And when I asked him point blank, Senator, at Bobby Scott's Labor Day picnic Monday, couple hours ago, 12 hours ago, He just looked me in the eye and said that he didn't have time. And I'm like, I'm on the radio 20 hours a week. You mean you can't carve out 20 minutes over 20 hours a week? It's just, it's just nonsense, I think.
Well, the only thing that Gary has more than available time right now is out-of-state money on his campaign. I mean, that is the most transparent, excuse that someone could make. I think those of us in public office or who are seeking a position in public office have an obligation. We have a commitment to communicate with voters and with the audience that listens to your show. What an opportunity for him to have a much broader audience where he can clearly articulate where he stands on the issues. John, I think what he's concerned about is you are a very fair-minded and objective reporter, but I think what Gary is concerned about is that you are going to ask him some very direct, no foolishness questions. Gary, tell me what your position is on this issue and why, and I don't think he wants to publicize that to the voters.
Senator, I want to get to one more race that's fascinating me. John Watkins' seat. This is the 10th district. Glenn Sturdivant's been on my show several times. He's got a pretty formidable candidate there in Dan Gecker, putting together a pretty strong campaign. The Democrats pretty confident they're going to be able to win that. What do you think?
I think that they're going to be changing their diapers on that race too, John. Glenn Sturdivant is a wonderful, energetic young man. He is a young attorney that has wonderful credentials. He came out of Virginia's largest law firm at Hunton and Williams, based out of Richmond. Now he's in his own practice. He has been a member of the school board. He's been a fierce advocate of public education. He's very personable, has a beautiful family, is working very hard. Now, that district has changed in recent years, and I think the enthusiasm that you hear from the Democrats is based strictly on a demographical change that has been going on. But just as Sturdivant has an extraordinary record on the school board, Gecker has a less than extraordinary record on the Board of Supervisors. You may recall that the last time he was running for re-election, he could not even get the Democratic nomination and had to end up running as an independent. Yet he's trying to rally the Democrats in that district to, even though you wouldn't support me for the Board of Supervisors, please support me for the Senate, that's a different race. The other thing is that Gecker has been a major developer and user of historical tax credits where he's redeveloped property up there, and he's had some issues with some of those tax credits. But probably one of the most volatile issues in the metropolitan Richmond area has been Dan Gecker, who, contrary to the overall attitude of the people he represented, was quietly promoting the building of a new baseball stadium, which would require his locality to contribute money in it, but yet in public he was not quite as candid about it. So there are a lot of dynamics in that race, but again, it boils down to an exceptional, personable, hardworking public servant in Glenn Sturdivant, and I feel really good about that race. He is working feverishly.
I think that is the one that I have just 100% even. I have no prediction on that, but I will as I get more into it. But you do have a good candidate there, no doubt. Got a couple questions. We got about 2 minutes. Okay, Joe Morrissey, District 16. I had him on my show a week ago. He said on November 5, Tommy Norment is going to be my best friend when I beat Roz Dance. What do you think?
Well, the one thing, Joe is a controversial figure, and sometimes in politics it's good to have a controversial figure, and I am nowhere near as judgmental as a lot of people are on Joe. I think that's a very tough race for Joe against Rosalind Dance. She was a very popular locally elected official. She's very popular in her district. when she had the nomination fight, most of the metropolitan Richmond Democrats lined up against everybody, from the mayor of Richmond right on down. She prevailed. But one thing I have learned, they call him Fighting Joe for a reason, but I do think Rosin will prevail. And also I recently read in the media that, unfortunately, Joe is having a health challenge. And when you line up, your health against a political campaign, I am certainly hopeful and prayerful that Joe will overcome his health issue regardless of what happens in the campaign.
Without a doubt. Okay, final question. You put your money where your mouth is. We were talking earlier about the fact that the Gary McCullom for Senate campaign would not agree to my debate. You, on the other hand, are having a debate October 5 between yourself and Dick Saslaw at Christopher Newport University at 6 p.m. We are going to attempt to broadcast that live. What do you think?
I think it would be great. A lot of, I think, citizens who know about politics through the news media do not really understand. Dick Saslaw and I are very good friends, and I consider him one of my dearest personal friends in the Senate of Virginia. He and I have the ability to talk privately and publicly on issues. We both respect the jobs that we have to do, but it's a lot like being an attorney. We might fight and argue and disagree on the floor of the Senate over a policy issue, but at the end of the day, we can shake hands, hug, and go out and have a sarsaparilla at night. It's business with us. It is not personal, and we both respect the jobs that we have to do. So I think the debate, is probably not going to be acrimonious of a big Democrat against a big Republican. It will be more of a gentlemanly and I think lighthearted discussion on the difference in the policy issues that we have. And frankly, I think it'll be very entertaining.
All right. Well, I am going to be there. We'll have a good time. I want to thank Senate Majority Leader Tommy Norment for being with us. Senator, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.